Anyone who's watched my videos knows that I generally speak to a very specific type of audience, and that is people who either are suffering with or have suffered with a gambling addiction. But gambling, as we know, is a massive, massive thing here in the UK and across Europe and the world, indeed the world. So what I want to do today really is sort of talk to people who gamble but don't believe they have a gambling addiction. And what I want to do is sort of give you my opinion as to why you shouldn't be gambling. The number one reason really why you shouldn't be gambling, even though you're not addicted. Now, firstly, I just want to say, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane, hope you're all doing well. And thank you very much for clicking on this video. Thank you to anyone who subscribed to the channel, liked, commented, done all that great YouTube stuff. If by the time you get to the end of this video you're not subscribed and you think it was interesting or good, then please do so. That's the end of my self-plugging. Yeah, so why shouldn't you gamble? It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? It's something you do when you're in the pub or when you're watching sport, or maybe you pop in the bookies and have a quick 20 quid, maybe a go on the online casinos, whatever it is, whatever your preferred poison, so to speak, is. If it's not causing you a problem and you can stop any time, then what's the number one reason? Now, of course, it would be remiss of me to say, well, actually, the number one reason really is because it can be highly addictive and it can destroy your life. And, the number of people that have clicked that subscribe button would give you a good indication that, it's not just me who had been caused significant problems with this habit. However, that might not happen to you and you may continue to gamble recreationally for the rest of your life. Okay, well, here's the reason. Can you actually afford it? I made a note on my phone the other day because I was just sometimes something comes to me and I have a thought and I think, I'll make a little note on my phone and maybe that will sort of generate into an idea for a video. And literally all I wrote was, you can't afford a Lamborghini. Now, if you look at me, I'm 6'2", 17 stone. A Lamborghini isn't exactly the ideal purchase, but the sentiment remains. Okay, I can't afford a Lamborghini, therefore I don't have one. And it really is as simple as that. So why do we believe that we can afford to gamble? Why do we separate, and this is particularly prolific, granted, amongst, more regular gamblers and indeed gambling addicts, but why do we separate gambling from all other types of expenditure, which we simply wouldn't justify? Now, of course, there is the element of chance that you may actually win. But if we look at it as an overview, whether or not you're recreational or a problem gambler or whatever, if you gamble regularly or frequently, then there will always be a house edge. So there is a calculable cost to this pastime/habit. It depends, say you're losing 3% per spin on roulette and you have X amount of spins per thing. I won't go into algebra because algebra is terribly dull. But realistically, unless you have an edge of your own, and be very, very careful of believing you do if you don't, because that can cause massive, massive problems, believe me. Unless you have an edge of your own, there will be a calculable cost to this activity. Now, there are many leisure activities that we would love to enjoy more frequently. Maybe you like to eat out every night. Maybe you'd like to go to all the different theme parks in the country. Maybe you are, and how do I put this in a YouTube-friendly way? Maybe you enjoy a Colombian energy supplement and ladies who work late in the evening. I think that's probably sensitive enough. But my point is there's lots and lots of things that we would like to do more frequently, but we don't justify because we can't justify. Why is gambling any different? Why is something that is technically so expensive, even at what we would consider as gamblers sort of low stakes, why is something that is so expensive as a pastime get given a bit of a pass? Why do we think that playing a fruit machine at £1 a spin is okay when we wouldn't dream of spending £1 every 5 seconds on virtually any other form of activity? Why is having 20 quid on a football bet perfectly acceptable? Why is that normalised when if we spent 20 quid down the pub, that's probably the best part of an evening out? Was that probably 4 pints in today's money, isn't it? But gambling, for some reason, gets a pass. There are so many things that I've looked back on after gambling sessions and thought, I could have bought that. I'll go out and I'll lose X amount of money, and I thought, I could have bought those new trainers that I've been eyeing up. Or I could have, in many cases, I could have paid for a weekend away, or, damn it, in some of my gambling sessions, even a holiday for me and my wife. But I hadn't spent it on that because I couldn't justify it to myself. I couldn't really afford it. Yes, I had the money, but I couldn't really afford it, so I didn't do it. But somehow gambling got a pass. I was allowed to gamble. Well, yeah, because everyone gambles, don't they? It's it's an acceptable leisurely pastime. It's there, and it's bloody everywhere, isn't it? Whether you're on the high street, in the pub, if you're online, if you're watching the football, gambling is everywhere. And the stakes that we are expected to play at and the money we are expected to put into this activity is normalised, when with virtually anything else that we do in life, the expenditure-time ratio, shall we say, is well out of kilter with virtually any other leisure activity. So if you're watching this video and you don't think you have a gambling addiction, firstly, the most important thing I would suggest is have a bit of a better think about that, because you're watching a middle-aged bloke ramble on YouTube about gambling addiction and gambling, so there's a reason you clicked on this video. But at the risk of being preachy, maybe you don't have a gambling addiction, but if you're doing it regularly, just think about how much you're spending. Can you afford it, particularly in today's climate? Should we stop giving money to these gambling companies? Should we stop paying for something that gives us actually very little pleasure just because of the potential of a small return, which in the grand scheme is going to make very, very little difference to our lives as a whole? That's kind of it. It was a bit of a ramble, just a thought I had, when I was thinking of all the things in life that I'd like to buy but couldn't afford and certainly couldn't justify. But for some reason, gambling always had a pass. And yes, in my case, that was because I was an addict. But it would have started somewhere. It would have started casually. It would have started recreationally. And for some reason, even then, I could have justified the expenditure on that, but not on more normal things. Stay safe and sane. All the best.